I'm going to talk about the web thing, and I looked at this room earlier, and I can safely say I'm bricking it at the moment. I'm principal evangelist for Mozilla, and I'm teaching people about public speaking at the moment, like getting developers to talk to other people in human language rather than in algorithms. And I do all these great tips, and then sometimes you get these side conferences coming in like, Chris, can you do that? And I'm like, okay, I can do that. So I want to talk about something that I know, so the web thing would be a good idea, because conferences always ask you, can you do the outline of your talk? Our conference is in November, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, write something down, and then like 2 days before the conference, I read what I promised, and then I write my slides, because I never give the same talk twice. I always give a new talk, which I thought I couldn't keep up, but I want to keep myself on my own toes and these kind of things. So it sucks to be me, because I have this big mouth, and when John asked me to come and speak here, I was like, yeah, only when I get the keynote, as a joke. And then he's like, okay, you got the keynote then, and I'm like, oh shit. Because it's a designy conference and designy audience, and I always teach my guys when it comes to speaking on the stage, talk to the audience, know what the audience wants to get out of it. If as a speaker, you don't give people something they can impress their boss with when they get back to get another ticket for the next conference, you've not done your job right. And I'm not a designer. I mean, like, and I'm being honest about this. I have no idea about designing, and as Dan said, everything I do is a happy accident. I just fiddle around like, oh, that looks actually quite good. Other people then say it doesn't, but who are they? They're not me, so that's a good. I like it. And I thought, okay, what do I do as a keynote for a designing conference as a very, very much technical guy? And I thought about, okay, I got to get some inspiration. So what to talk about? What could I do there? I was racking my brain about what could be done. And then I needed inspiration. And as I'm not going into illegal substances, I took a book. And actually, that was part of the conference in Düsseldorf, where every speaker got a book by Sean Tan called The Arrival, and it's just this beautiful, beautiful book. And then, as I'm a geek, I bought everything that man has ever released, Sean Tan. And one of the things he has is called The Lost Thing. So as I'm going to have a lot of these pictures in my slides, please, all of you, buy lots of his stuff. So actually, he doesn't sue me for copyright infringement. But it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous book to read. And I was in the cafe 2 days ago. I was sitting in a cafe in Stoke Newington where I live, and I actually read through the books and got really excited about all the pencil drawings. And I just lost everything around me. I didn't drink my coffee halfway. I was like, oh, this is so cool. And same yesterday when people like come up on stage and say like, oh, the client didn't understand what we want to have, so we painted him a comic book. And I'm like, you talented bastard. I would love to know this kind of stuff. No, throwaway stuff. We don't use that anymore. So I was just completely immersed in these pencil drawings. And then when I got out, I had this Amélie moment, because somebody had left a pencil on my bicycle. So I was, the romantic in me thinks like, oh, somebody saw me in that cafe marveling at these pencil drawings. Probably it's just some kid like, a fucking pencil, and putting it there. But I just love that these little things happen, and I wish there's these magical moments in this world, and they do happen from time to time. And it's good that we can still have these things. So in the book, The Lost Thing, there's this guy who actually collects bottle tops, and he goes to the beach and he finds this thing, this red thing with whistles on and bells, and like it looks like a kettle mixed with an octopus. And he doesn't know what it is, but he has the feeling that the thing is lost. And he's amazed that nobody else around him actually sees the thing, only him. And he's like, that's not right, there's something going on there. So what is this thing? And he starts looking into it and starts interacting with it. And the same happens with the web thing. The web means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. This is a 1996 illustration what the internet might be. It's mobile already, that's pretty good. It's got Dart in it, I doubt that. But it was interesting to see that people like, what's the web thing? Do an illustration. Yeah, that's the web thing. That's totally fine. There's an @ sign on it. That's it. And a curly A, as they called it back then. Always a good thing when you call a help desk guy, like, talk about curly A's to get them on the edge. Like, I want to kill this guy. And interaction is my favorite moment. When Dan talked about the Crayola site and the painting in things that they have, I remember this wonderful story, which has nothing to do with this talk, but I like to tell about stories. I worked on McDonald's, McDonald's.co.uk in 2002, 2003, and we moved it from Flash to Flash and HTML by using XML as the data and all these kind of things, and had this microsite where they were allowing kids to actually, parents to print out PDFs of Ronald McDonald so kids can paint them out, because they haven't been indoctrinated with the brand enough yet. And I just don't like the character. I think he's creepy and he does strange things to children when we don't watch him. And my favorite moment was we built this website. It was awesome. It was really paining the butt back then to build this kind of thing. And then 20 minutes later, the phone rings. Chris, shut down the server, shut down the microsite. Why? What's going on? 40 of our restaurants, as they call them, called in that children had started painting on the screens that they have there. So it was like, paint Ronald McDonald there. I got my crayons with me. That works, you know? So interaction, we never know what people do with our stuff. We have an idea of what we want them to do, but most of the time they don't. So how we see the web is we love it. We love it to bits. It pays our bills for starters. We're 24 connected on our cool phones, buy the newest gadgets, or every time have these newest, coolest computers, like, what, you don't got Retina? Pfft, you're from the 90s, aren't you? And we also see this cuddly thing that basically we want to protect and we want to love, because we can make our money with it, so it's a good idea not to go away. So we basically see this as this little panda clinging onto us, like that's the web, and we're good to it and it's good to us. Whereas the outside world sees the web a bit differently. The press likes to show the web as something dangerous because it's a media we can't control, and we're controlled, we're much safer. And my parents, for example, like, oh no, the internet, that's where they steal your credit cards. Not that they have credit cards, but the internet is where they would steal them after I had them or something like that. And people see it like that. The web is, yeah, it's cute enough, but also a bit scary, and most of all, what the fuck is it? And we don't understand that as much because we're so close to the subject matter, and we don't have much empathy for the end users out there as well. We sometimes think, oh, nobody can be that stupid. The other day I had a big discussion with somebody on Twitter who sent the message that he believes that everybody who clicks on ads is an idiot. And I'm like, well, okay, how do you get your money? Well, I don't live on ads, my customers pay me. And I'm like, my clients pay me. And I'm like, how do they get their money? Oh, with ads. So the end users that we think like, how can we not get this, are the people that actually make our money, and we should feel much more empathy about them. Which brings me to quality. The other day I got this website sent to a mailing list, German mailing list, funnily enough, and somebody sent it to me, and let's take that in a bit. So they asked us, like, hey, what do you think of this website? So, I mean, there's a lingering lawsuit by Angry Birds, just for the font, I think, and I think it's safe to say that they've done deliberately everything wrong that you could do wrong. Like the font size too big, too small, there's no grid, there's nothing there, it's just absolutely, utterly awful. And I'm like, this is cool, this is really cool, because you always show linkscars.com and these kind of things to people to say like, oh, here's just the website, not how to do it, and it's really stupid, and haha. And I'm like, okay, so from a visual point of view, this is painful. Even I can say that. So let's take a look at the HTML. Maybe that's the better thing. And no, it's not. It's like margin, width, font size, nested tables. Now, we all know that this is wrong. We all know that this is crap. And I was like, cool, thank you for that. I can show it on stage to show like how stupid websites are. And he's like, what do you mean? This is my website. And I'm like, okay. Well, you can improve that a bit by doing these kind of things, and that kind of a big discussion about like quality and things like that. And then came the shocker. I mean, even UX, like there's no interface whatsoever. It's just empty mail to links. If you click on it, it just says the name of the thing that he wants to sell and an email box. Like no interaction whatsoever. And 2 weeks later, he comes up to me and shows me that he sold 3 of those houses, made $170,000 with that website, and that in the first 2 days, without promoting it, he made $650 with Google Ads. Now, with my blog, I make like $650 a month, maybe with Google Ads, if it's a good month. In the past, it was much, much more. And with all of our cool demos and stuff, we don't make much money. Most of all because all of us have AdBlock installed. So when you're actually catering to the marketing or design or web developer market, you're not making money with ads. The thing now is, if I go to my mom, or if I go to anybody else who's not web savvy or in the scene like us, and we compare each other. And I say like, this man made this website that makes my eyes bleed, and made so and so much money in the first 2 days with it, and here is my cool stuff that uses the best, newest, coolest technology and is smooth and everything. My mom would say like, well, he's the successful one, I'm sorry. So we should be thinking about these things, like how do people measure our success? Which brings me to an interesting point of we lost the hunger to learn the basics or to cherish the basics. In Mozilla, we've got a project called WebMaker, and what WebMaker is, we actually go out and do code camps and things like that, where we introduce people to the web. We all think everybody knows the web, but go to one of these things. They're in our office in London, they're all over the place, and it's just wonderfully humbling to see that people are still scared of the internet and don't know that the internet is read and write. That everything on the internet is from source code and can be remixed with dev tools or with add-ons, and you can take parts of a page out and put it into another page and all these kind of things. People don't know the read and write of the web yet, and we have this project to make them into web makers, not just consumers of the web. Because that's what made the web big, and right now with a lot of shiny devices that just let people click on things, it's becoming more and more a consumption media than a consumption and giving back media. So it's very important to see that. So if you want to see people that you think don't exist, that's a very good thing to do. And the wonderful thing at the end of the day at these events is as well, when you see somebody who built their first, not that amazing, but their first website by the end of the day and are frigging proud of it and send it to their whole family and go on Facebook and talk to people, look what I just built. That's the kind of passion that I had in '96 when I built my first websites and said like, this is cool. And we should not forget this, and we should not be too excited about our cool bleeding edge stuff if there's basic things to be done. So in the book, he starts talking to the thing, and there's playtime. So they basically go on the beach and they play with each other and make like sand castles and play fetch, and he gets to know the thing a bit more and has much more fun with it. We have playtime as well. We call that demos and examples and experiments. And there's like 50 different websites out there that show you CSS experiments, HTML5 experiments, Canvas experiments. We run a big one in Mozilla. ChromeExperiments.com is another one. So this is where we show off the coolest, newest technology stuff and play with it and go nuts with it. And that is cool. That is wonderful that we have that. I mean, people like Seb Lee Delisle being not scared of any technology or any failure at all, does some really, really cool stuff, like Dear Bonkers that will never work on stage, and most of the time it doesn't, but he's okay with that as well, because we need to try it out. The problem that I have with these demos is that they actually go into this inspiration loop. So that's a bit of the book as well, where you've got the camera interviewing the TV that are connected with each other, that have basically the same information. So when we talk about what we do in web development, a lot of times we just show these cool demos and say like, this is what could be. This is what the web could be like, and oh, we're almost there, but we're not quite there yet, and it's a shame because everybody else but us is to blame for that. And we also we love to speak in sound bites. When you work with the press a lot, the press loves sound bites. Like, oh, Mozilla guy said that Google is not good, and these kind of things. They normally make it a bit harsher and more interesting. But we're addicted to these sound bites as well. We're addicted to some developers saying like, all designers are idiots. Or some designer saying like, developers will never understand this. It's like the more outrageous our demands and our truisms are, the more we will repeat them and they will be retweeted on the internet. And sometimes these are just ridiculous things like, oh, everybody has a Retina display, so I'm going to redesign everything that I do to have a Retina display support. And you're like, well, how many of you users do have that? That's not important. We have to do that. Everybody has one. So, because sooner or later there's the end of playtime. So at the end of the book, it's getting night and nobody comes there to claim the thing. So he talks to a few people and says like, do you know this thing? Do you know what it is? Or does it belong to you? And he feels like nobody cares. Nobody sees it or knows what the thing is at all, and just nobody takes ownership. And in our discussions that happens as well. When you got like mailing list threads or forum threads, sooner or later there will be this one sentence that says, yeah, that's okay, but in the real world. So when I talk about HTML5 and WebRTC and all these cool new technologies, that's great, yeah, you in Mozilla, you can use that, but in the real world, our clients never want any of that stuff. In the real world, our clients want this and that. And it's such a wonderful carte blanche to get out, and it just fascinates me that so when you end a discussion about great new technology with in the real world it's different, so who are we building this for? And what are we doing with it? Because if we're not building it for the real world, then we're building it for ourselves, which is this inspiration loop that I talked about. We're much more likely to redesign our blog and use everything cool in new technology in there than to actually go to a client and try to sell it to them. That's why it's good when I saw what Dan showed us, that and we built an HTML thing for the iPhone, not an iPhone app for Crayola. That's exactly what I want to do. But going up on stage and saying this is my website, and it totally resizes on my phone, who cares? Selling that to a client and billing them for the extra hours, that is what we need to do. That is what we need to know. How do we move the technology further into the real world rather than coming up with a real world as an excuse for not having to think about new technologies? So in the book, he takes the thing home and he introduces it to his parents, and they don't want it in the house, and his feet are filthy and these kind of things. So he puts it out in the garden shed and leaves it there. And he basically shelters it. He says, okay, we can't leave it on the beach and I can't leave it on the rain, so let's bring it home and put it somewhere. And that's exactly what we should be doing as well, because the web is yours. There's no point complaining that things don't work. You can actually make things happen on the web. You're fully in control. When I started in 96, 97, there was no way to contact any browser developer and they would listen to me. Nowadays, we're all on IRC, we all have bug trackers, we all have the information out there for you to contact us. And it's up to you to build the things for the real world. Nobody else will do it. Nobody will come up from top down and use the coolest, newest technologies to actually just impress us. We're saying we're dependent on new technology. We want this cool new stuff. It's really necessary for our products. And then we're too chicken to use them in our products. It's you in control. You don't have anybody else to blame. It's very, very important to understand that you're empowered. Please use it. And if it fails, it can fail gracefully, or you can fail spectacularly and learn something from it. All of us here, if we really fuck up, we get fired. Tomorrow we have a new job. Try to find another market where that happens. My brother's a fireman who actually can't find a job at the moment. If he doesn't do his job, people burn. If we don't do our job, 5 pixels are off in a form. And still we every time when something happens to the market, oh my God, it's so bad. I mean, we only have 40 different free drinks in our office. That's just not right. We're really spoiled, and we should just concentrate on celebrating the freedom that we have in our market, because a lot of people don't understand what we're doing. So if they think we do magic anyways, let's do good magic. So it's up to you to give 100% to make the web better. And as it says, it's as the furry orange thing in the movie says, it's nothing's going to get better if you don't think about it. And how do you give 100%? So let's approach this from a developer's point of view. So if A is 1, and B is 2, and C is 3, how do we reach 100% of things? A lot of people say knowledge is the most important thing. So let's try that out. Knowledge gets up to 73%. That's not bad. That's a good start. People say how about hard work? Hard work gets you up to 75%. That's not bad either. Then you look at the people who do everything right on the web, let's try Crockford. And that one gets you up to 93%, but it's not quite 100% yet. And of course, the big thing we put in our CVs right now, being a ninja, 86%. That's not good. The only thing that gets you to 100% is attitude, which is interesting. And it's the right attitude that gets you to the 100%. Because there's attitudes that give you celebration status. People love when people do that on the interwebs. An attitude setting a new baseline. Everybody has X and Y these days. sod you if you have an old browser. How can you not afford the newest iPhone? We don't work for you. We work for the people that bring the future with hardware that is closed and software that is closed by a company that defines us what the future is. But these are the kind of posts that get there, like when you're like, oh, don't support that anymore, that's totally pointless. Because everybody has this, and browser statistics come out every month. And people say, oh, this browser is up and this browser is down. Have you ever tried analyzing browser statistics? Really? There's just no point in that. I talked to somebody in a large corporation the other day who actually does things with books and faces, and they looked at their statistics and they found that just in 1% of their traffic, they had like 1.7 million different user agents. And trying to guess which browser is from all of those is totally impressive. Also that us, we have a desktop, we have a laptop, we have 2 phones, we have another device that we test on. So we do 5 hits to the same page from 5 different browsers, but it's still the same user. So browser statistics are ridiculous if you think about them, and I just wish that it weren't such big headlines for the press as well. I don't care which browser is higher and which browser is lower, as long as the good browsers that do the new good things keep growing, and we can replace the old browsers on people's computers that need them. Being clever and innovative is another attitude that always gets you a lot of celebration. Like, oh yeah, look, I can do this, and it still works in the browser, because browsers fix that for me. Like, oh, well done, wonderful. Like, but relying on something that is flaky and calling it a best practice, to me, is a bad, bad idea. If you call it like, oh, we had to do this to get the thing out of the door, great. But if you say, you can do this because the browser will always fix it for you, I don't trust magical fixing things. They don't do it for me. So let's think about those as well. Doing things because they can be done goes into the same field, like, oh, I don't need a semicolon at the end of my JavaScript lines because the browser injects it there. Well done, you saved a semicolon at the end of the line. Hopefully you use this time that you saved with that for something really good, like feeding the poor or something like that. Assuming a perfect audience is another one, like we write for ourselves, like good code explains itself. You don't need any documentation. If people are not as clever as I am with my code, then they're weak, and they shouldn't read my code or something like that. And control. With this plugin, we finally have kerning for each letter, like lettering.js, which cracks me up, like, this is cool, but you are aware that websites get translated and the kerning is different from language to language. You are aware that sooner or later you will have to come up with a content management system where your clients will change that word that you kerned with every letter to something completely different. So if you want to have full control, maybe a graphic is a good idea in this case. And it just fascinates me that we always crave this control. And to me, the beauty of the web was always that there is no control. The end user owns your interface. They can mess around with it any way they want to break it. Build things that are flexible enough to actually break nicely and not break like horribly. So, which brings me to the future-proof attitudes, which when you write about them in blog posts or tweets, they don't get as much support. But I've worked with them since 1996. I didn't go to university. I'm a shit designer, and I'm standing here. And all of these attitudes are very simple to take on, and sometimes they just feel like, why didn't I do this? Because it sounds too easy. Designing for use is a very important one. What does your end user want? What does your end user need? We try to force things onto our end users and say, like, this is how it works. But seeing the real estate website that I showed earlier, this audience is looking into that, is looking forward to that. I mean, my favorite was, you saw that some of the pictures had a red border around them, which made them look even even worse. And he said, like, these actually listings got more clicks than the others because they had this red border around them. So if you don't know your audience, if you don't know your users, and you just assume that this is what cookie cutter approach, this is what everybody needs, you will not be successful. This might be having to violate things that you love, but you will get something out there for the end user. And our clients don't understand that. I work with local government, and I said, like, okay, here's the navigation. It's going to be 3 big blocks. I'm already in the council. I just moved into the council, and I need help. And going from navigation from there. That was a great idea, and then basically in the end it was a drop-down navigation with 415 different elements in it, because every local council liked to actually reflect their company structure in their website navigation for some reason. And every councillor wanted to have like a video saying hello to people and welcome to our website on the front page. But we were like, okay, let's make it easier for end users out there, and they don't care, really. We pay the money, we do it for you. So sometimes we have to have an evolution there, but we can only do it if we design for use and show that it can be better. Enhance progressively, that's always a big thing. I've been harping on about progressive enhancement for years and more people are now like, I can't do that because I'm using this JavaScript MVC framework and every interaction and everything, and you're like, you don't get the progressively here. Like, enhancing progressively means you always give users something that works, and you make it better the further you go in the tech stack and by detecting what the thing can do. My example for that is escalator versus lift. An escalator is a stair that moves. If there's no electricity, it's still a stair. You can walk up to the other floor. It's not as convenient, but it's not stopping you from going to the other floor. A lift, when it breaks down, is a very uncomfortable small room that is on one floor that you can't use for anything. So you had to build an extra stair next to it to allow people to use it when the lift breaks down. And the same with progressive enhancement. If the thing is HTML and a server reload for a normal form, fair enough. Then if the browser can do CORS and AJAX and all the things, don't make that reload on the server. It even gives you a good indicator which of your users are using what technology that way. But you should always build something that works and build up upon it, because then you can take that off if necessary as well. Or you can build the next level later on as well, rather than having to rewrite the whole thing from scratch when a new cool browser comes out. Build for the next person. I always did that. Every time you get a project from somebody else, you actually start swearing about that person and thinking what kind of idiot that was. Then 2 months later down the line, you realize it was you 4 months ago and you just hadn't commented it. Build for the person to maintain your stuff, not for yourself. The whole cleverness thing that I talked about is not maintainability. If you expect the person that takes over from you to be you or understand the same things as you, you're not building code for the future. A saying says, like, always write code as if the next guy that takes over from you is a maniac with an axe who knows where you live. That works. Same for designers. Always cracks me up when people are like, why isn't there in 2012 a tool that allows me to take a PSD and generate CSS layers out of it? Because you don't friggin' name your layers. If a PSD document has like 6,000 layers and they're called layer 1, layer 2, elephant, whatever, I can't generate anything out of that. I need to know what is to actually generate something out of it. So a bit of quality in your code for the next person makes sure that that person will not speak badly of you. And it also means that maintenance, which is 90% of our job, becomes much easier. Asking for reasons. Why does this website look like this? Sometimes you get the most amazing things. Like, my favorite is accessibility, when I talked about accessibility a lot. And with finance institutions, I'm like, well, you have this on-screen keyboard. That is totally inaccessible and really, really bad. Why do you have this? And okay, we're a financial site, and by the financial agreement of this and that year, you cannot have keyboard entry because there's keyboard loggers viruses. So, financial law or accessibility law, which one is the one to violate better? Well, accessibility law, we're not going to get sued. Financial law, we're going to get sued. So let's make sure we use that. So think about the things before you start complaining about it and why they happened. Being technology agnostic is a very, very important thing as well. I've started as an assembly programmer, basic, Pascal, HTML, Perl, PHP, JavaScript, and whatever came after that. Whatever new came along, I jumped on it and said, like, let's try it out. You cannot say, I'm a Ruby guy, I will do Ruby to the end of my life. There will be something else that replaces Ruby sooner or later. It's all about knowing things and knowing how things work and knowing how to use which technology to which of its powers, rather than like sticking with one and condemning all the others. Best practices are found. They're not defined. It fascinates me how somebody writes a blog post and said, like, that's a best practice. Like, okay, citation needed. Where is the website that you built with it for a client? Where is the massive thing that you built with it for somebody else that saved them so and so many $1 million? If you just say it's a best practice, that doesn't make it one. It makes it an academic exercise of quality or purity, but it doesn't make it a best practice. And other best practices that come out of things that are not applicable to others is quite amazing as well. Like a lot of the performance stuff that we get told is amazing and very important is because it's amazing and very important for Gmail on mobile. So if you don't build Gmail on mobile or something similar, and good luck if you try, these are not a best practice for you. These are an edge case best practice. And for your stuff, something else might be applicable entirely. So always question these attitudes. So in the book, he takes the thing home, and the thing gets hungry. And she's like, okay, what do I do with it? So he tries to feed it, and he tries to feed things. Turns out that Christmas decoration is what it wants to eat, which is good. And we should do the same thing with the web. We should nurture it, and we should give it something that it can actually digest. And sometimes, that is an unhealthy diet. Yes, Apple killed Flash. We know, Flash is evil now. Bad idea. That's why Apple also has this really good browser that supports everything that we need to do in HTML, because Flash is evil. And it just fascinates me that at times we need to use Flash and Silverlight and Java and whatever you want out there, because it is about building interfaces for end users with certain functionality. And if the certain functionality is not reliably across all the browsers, then why not use Flash for at least building the interfaces and shifting them over once we're there? For the browsers that support it, actually give them HTML5 stuff. For the others, give them Flash. At least you can test out the UX of these interfaces. You can test out how they actually work for end users, rather than waiting for the magical browser falling out of the sky to replace all of them out there, because that's not going to happen. This is scary from a standards advocate talking about this, but I really think it's important that we focus on using these technologies for end users, not just using the technologies because we want to use them. So a great example is WebRTC, which allows you to access the camera and access the audio of your computer, and that is not quite there across browsers, but in Flash it's been there for years, so having a fallback to Flash is totally fine. Although we take that too far sometimes. So in the book, he tries to get rid of the thing. He tries to like, okay, it doesn't belong here, it's not happy with me, so somebody needs to actually take that thing from me. And he finds this ministry for things that are lost. And he's like, great, so let's go there and give it to that ministry of the things that are lost. That's great, so they will deal with it, that's totally fine. And the problem is that they just don't understand it. He comes in and he basically asks him to fill this big form. And the janitor actually tucks on his shirt and says like, if you really like that thing, don't leave it here. Because here they forget things. They just put them in a corner and don't want to think about them. Here's a card of where you can bring the thing, which doesn't have anything on it. It's just a matter of like an arrow pointing somewhere. Bring it there. It's much, much better. And it's the same with us. It's like we always, when things go wrong, when the new technologies are not available for us yet, and we really want to use them because we saw them and we want to use that stuff, there's always this, someone should do something. Why does the W3C not intervene? Why do browser vendors don't just implement the things that we said was better than the things that they said they defined for the last 2 years? Someone should do something. We love to wait for the thing from above to actually sort this thing out for us. And it's not going to happen. Browser makers are very, very are innovating a lot, but they're also very, very aware that they need to fix a lot of stuff to not break the terrible web that's out there. I actually don't like that. I don't like that HTML5 doesn't give you a massive error message saying like, this website is something but not HTML, I try to render it for you, is that okay? End users would hate it, but I'm sorry, sometimes we have to actually start not supporting everything that is broken. But we cannot do that right now. That's why when we talk about semantic value of HTML and quality of HTML in the HTML5 world, it's totally pointless because browsers display whatever you give them. It's just for us. The browser thing doesn't come in anymore. So the someone who should do something is actually you. And you can do it. You can complain on mailing lists. You can file bugs. You can write demos and show us actually how that thing could be used if it were available. We don't have any designers or UX people actually talking to browser makers or standard makers a lot, saying like, actually, we have this interaction in Flash years ago. Here's how we described it. Here's how the use cases work. That could be the base of a new standard, couldn't it? But people are like, no, it's Flash, we don't do that. So it's communicating between our camps is very, very important. But instead, we do abstraction. So we come up with preprocessors, because CSS variables are something we always wanted, and we really don't care what the W3C does with CSS variables, because we got this preprocessor now. We got sets, we got lists, we got compass, we got something else this week properly. We got shims, we got polyfills, we got libraries. So we always say we need this because we need to deliver things quickly, which is good. This is very, very important to have these things. But if our knowledge is dependent on something that is only there to be a stopgap solution, then we're doing something wrong. If you only know jQuery and you claim to be a JavaScript developer, you will be sent to some project where you're just like, I have no idea what that thing is. And that you don't want. You want to be an expert that actually gets appreciated as an expert. So we abstract on abstract on abstract, and instead of documenting the abstractions, we just write another one as well. And as a developer who knows his stuff, I always look at these things like, okay, I could read this documentation for that, or write something myself. And this is, again, an endless loop that we're in right now. So abstracting our problems away in some JavaScript solution gives us an immediate satisfaction, but in the long run, it will kill our market, because it actually means that we get dependent on things that are not standards, that are not properly documented, and are not supported by browsers. If you just do a search on Google, or if Googlebot does a search on jQuery versions, the amount of really, really outdated, badly performing jQuery versions out there, because people just build something and never ever loved it again, is immense. So we're filling the web with cruft of quick solutions that never go away. And that's not the idea of a quick solution. It should be there until browsers do it better. And we're getting there. So play with the players. Talk to Chromium, talk to Apple, if you're lucky, talk to Opera, talk to Microsoft, and talk to Mozilla. All the browsers are not scary things that are not available for you. They're actually nice little ponies that actually are around the campfire. And please use Bugzilla. I know, the idea of sending a designer to Bugzilla after they complained about the UX thing in the browser is painful, because it's basically designed by a developer. Let's make as many form elements as possible in there. Most of them you don't need. But it doesn't work to go up to me on Twitter and say, like, this should be in Firefox. And I'm like, okay, so I should take your problem that you haven't properly explained to me and write it in an email to the engineers of Firefox who only read bug reports. Or you want me to file your bug without knowing your problem. If you have a problem, make a screenshot, make a description how it happened, and put it in there. It's a 2-minute job, and we will get better at it. And the only way how browsers get better is by bugs filed, not by people complaining and on their blog telling that they could do it better. If you could do it better, we're hiring. Everybody is hiring. Come in and do it better, but don't just be on the web and say, like, I can do that better, and our browser makers don't know what we need. Well, if we don't tell them in the right channels, yes, then they don't know what you need. So you have to go outside of your comfort zone to feel the magic. And to me, this means a lot dealing with clients and building real products, and not building yet another experiment or redesigning your own blog or making your own personal CV. Online CVs are useless. Like, every HR department I know wants a Word document or a PDF. Nobody goes to an online CV, just different designers looking at each other. Oh, your CV is nicer than mine. So don't waste your time on these things, but actually spend more time, which is more painful, which is more annoying, to talk to clients and actually do things with them. Which brings me to this one. This is interesting, because there was a library around called Photon, and it was a 3D CSS shading library. So these are all 3D divs tilted in 3D space, and they have this light sourcing on them. And it was beautiful, and I was like, nah. Yeah, whatever. What are you going to do with that? It's just Flash reinvented in open technology. The other thing we have is Mozilla Popcorn. That's a JavaScript library that allows you to sync video with HTML content or with content around it. So you can actually do overlays, and you can reload pages in the background and all these things. It's a very simple interface. in a JavaScript library, but also it has a what you see is what you get style editor, which is much like Flash, that has a timeline where you can see your video and you can select from a finished project already and then just drag and drop things into it and then get an executable HTML file with the video in it and the stuff going on around it. Which is, we're showing at that a lot at the webmaker stuff and when we talk to journalists. Now, on the BBC, the other day I found this slide. This is Ian Thomas and Dev. And when you see this is a map here and has some overlays on it, and when you start pressing the button, it's like, ooh, it goes all into 3D. And then it starts overlaying these things. And you think this is Flash, you would think this is like Silverlight or it's just a big video, but actually it's not. It's using Popcorn and that Photon library to actually overlay these things in the right angle on the Google Earth video that they recorded, or I think it's Nokia Maps here. So they used these coolest, newest technologies that I thought the demo was pretty pointless and made something really cool out of it for end users. Did you see that anywhere? Did any designer congratulate that and say like, whoa, the BBC is using coolest, newest CD transformations on overlaying on an HTML5 open video? And if the BBC can do that with their red tape, then there is really no stopping us, I think. And of course, it was a Mozilla guy that we seconded to the BBC that made that, who actually got a fellowship with the Knight Foundation. But it's just wonderful that someone as old school as the BBC can build something like that using newest technology. And it's sad that they don't get the applause from the big web developers, web designers, bloggers out there. That it's just simmering somewhere in the background. If that had been on somebody's demo, like, oh look, I can overlay things on a 3D map, that would have been like, hey, awesome, and BBC, man. BBC is for people to read news. This is where the users are. This is where we should go. So, open should not mean harder. That's one thing that I fight every single day, that a lot of times we have, yeah, this is an open technology project, but it's really hard to use, but it's open, so you gotta be okay with that. No. Sorry. If we're not as easy to use as the closed technologies, open will not win. Great example, HTML slide deck. We just had a Summer of Code project where somebody built something and said like, only open technology to make slides synced with audio. Okay, that's good, sounds awesome. And first step was like, download LibreOffice and use your write your slides in LibreOffice. Then actually export them as SVG, use this tool that we've written to convert the SVG to something else, install Node.js and Redis on your computer, and I'm like, okay, this is not gonna happen. This is all open technology, but it's a 5-step process for something that should be a what you see is what you get editor. So let's think about how to make open better, and it's good to see that people work on Drupal, that Ubuntu people are here, talk to them as well. Like, you want this open stuff to be good, and not to be like, no, I can't use it. So open means you need your input to be better, and not just engineers that tell you need these 10 things and everybody has them. So the time is now. One of the nicest quotes I saw in the book is that today is the tomorrow you were expected yesterday. And that's true. We always think about this great tomorrow. Tomorrow everything will be better. No, today everything can be better if we start doing things. Today is the future, not tomorrow is the future that might come. If you don't do anything, the future will be just another today or a really boring yesterday. It has to be, the tomorrow has to be today, and it has to start here. So I want you to actually think about it today, about letting some of the things go, like letting some of your prejudices go about new technologies and new ideas, and your clients will never be able to understand that. In the book, he leaves the thing to go away, and he doesn't even know if it's going to be happy where he leaves it, but he just trusts his instinct and says like, okay, it seems to be happy there, so go and play with the others. And we should do the same thing. Trust your instincts at times, and you cannot fail. You cannot. Our market is so wonderfully strong. We can do whatever. And we will get another job tomorrow. It might not be as good, well paid, it might not be as the same thing, but it might be the change you need. And we're hiring. Let's talk about happy retirement for a moment, and that's something that we just can't do. Look at this man in this wheelchair here, who seems to be rather okay, and he's fine. Would you go up to that man and say like, you know what dude, let's go out for a run and go to the park and do some CrossFit training? And pummel him and shake him and say, like, come with me now, and wow, exercise, really awesome. Would you do that? No, I guess not. So why the fuck do you ask Internet Explorer 6 to animate things? We're pestering the elderly with our JavaScript solutions that actually fix things for Internet Explorer 6. That thing should be retired. Give it HTML to play with. That's about it. Don't give it anything that needs lots of calculation, needs lots of animation and smoothness. There is no smoothness in Internet Explorer 6. There wasn't any smoothness in 97, it's not now. So let the thing just have something that it can deal with. And not block it out. That's okay. Here's HTML for you. Fair enough. Deal with that. But don't test for it. Don't pester it with extra things. And it's just over. I mean, Microsoft hates Internet Explorer 6 by now. That's actually sad because Internet Explorer 8 is not gonna, 9 or 10 is not going to come to XP. But that's their problem. But we should really think about letting things go again. Like, no, this is not going to happen. So don't ask me to say you can't use that great 3D transformation thing because it doesn't work on Internet Explorer 6. In 9 out of 10 cases, you don't need the 3D transformation thing. It just looks nicer and makes the interaction smoother. There is no smooth interaction. Just install Internet Explorer 6 and surf the web and have a totally miserable day. And then tell me like, oh, every user that uses Internet Explorer 6 is fine with that. No, they're not. So it's important to say no to stupid requests at times. So if clients come up to us and basically say like, oh, this website needs to look the same on every device, we say, no, doesn't work. This is not the web. If you want the thing to look the same on every bloody device out there, send them a JPEG. And even there, the color density doesn't work in every browser and every device the same way. This is not what the web is. You neuter the web by making it look the same everywhere. You embrace the web by making products that actually use the best out of the technology that they're viewed on and actually become better by better technology and actually give people something that is digestible on systems that are old. My thing about how I approach that is thinking Mario. With web development, we always have this, especially when we're in the mid-range market, not like the high-range clients, we always have some things like, oh, I got this already, can you use that? Can you implement that? Okay, we can put that in. And oh, my cousin has Photoshop and he made this like sans serif logo that should be there as well. Okay, fair enough. If you call a plumber to your house because there's a problem in your house, and you tell them like, well, I've got these rusty old pipes here, and a bit of old plumbing that basically came from the house next door. Can you use that to make it cheaper? He's like, no. And you're like, okay, you can't say, well, you should do because then he's going to do a bad job and you stand knee deep in shit. And we should be the same, not knee deep in shit, but we should be the people that say no because we're craftsmen. We want to be respected. So if you build things because you want to get them quick out of the door, you will not get respect. You will get money, yeah, but you will not get respect. So if you have projects that actually are the ones that, oh, I do it quickly and I know it's total shit, but I want to do it and it makes me happy, it will not make you happy. Because you said yes to the client for something really that you didn't believe in and you didn't stand up for, he will come with more and more stupid requests. It's like doing websites for your mates. They come then every month and you're like, I don't have time for that anymore. I can teach you how to do, no, I don't want that, just can you do that fix for me? No, don't do that. Be a plumber, go in and out and fix things, and don't really let them discuss your craft with you, because you're the expert that they hire. You're not the person that they can slap around and do whatever with. You're not a delivery guy. You're an expert that builds a crafty product for them. So enjoy the journey. The journey on the web is not point A to point B, and then the W3C will drop some things in the middle and make it awesome every 2 years. This is not going to happen. It's a bumpy road. And it's a wonderful journey. I've been traveling it since '96 and I don't have another job. And it's just wonderful to see how things repeat themselves and how problems are happening and get solved. So one thing that everybody talks about is web apps right now. And I sat with people from Google, Facebook, Twitter, everybody out there. If anybody tells you he knows what a web app is, he's talking bullshit. Web apps are not defined. There is no standard. We don't know what a web app is. Is it a website with local storage? Is it a website with a database? Is it something we don't know? That needs definition right now. What are the UX patterns of a web app compared to a native app? How come native apps are actually so strict and rigid, where web apps could be more fluid? How do we define this fluidity? How do we define making an app easier on the web than on native? And we don't know yet. And Jake here is going to give the next talk about that the that local storage, that app cache, the basic principle of HTML5 apps is completely and utterly broken. It was written by somebody in a room that said, like, this is what a hypothetical app would look like, and it's completely broken to what we want to do right now. This standard is not fit for use for web apps. And we all proclaim it, it's like, oh, it's that easy, it's totally fine there. So this is the next big thing we need to fix, and I'm looking forward to that. I love that problem, and I talked to a lot of people about it. We're releasing our apps, we've got a Firefox phone coming out. All these little things have to be solved. And be part of that. I mean, you're not probably a developer that actually goes into that depth, but you should be the one saying, I expect the web app to be this and this and this. So that would be a really good thing to tell us about. And yeah, listen to Jake's talk about how broken that thing is at the moment and how you can fix it for the interim solution for you. So I invite you to make that web thing happen. You're all in control, you all have nothing to fear, you all can fail, you all can win really quickly. I've been running this road for a long time and I love it to bits and I will not stop it at any time soon. So be with me and actually build the web of the future, and thanks.